Hello and welcome to the Own Your Shit Friday show. I have with me here Leticia Campbell, sales success strategist, amazing powerhouse, and a small business owner too, to talk to us today about stopping self-sabotage. But first, let me introduce myself. My name's Kathy Tate. I'm the Baldwarrior, author, speaker, transformative coach, and management accountant, helping women stop self-sabotage, start self-love, and living their dream lives. So, Leticia, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm so excited to have you on my show.
Thank you so much for having me, Kat.
So Leticia and I met about 18 months ago at a retreat run by the Unstoppable Mama, Rhonda Swan, in Bali, and it was fantastic. And since then, we've been in regular touch. She's a coach that I've been doing, Sexy Brand Building Formula, who created the Baldwarrior logo with me, which is amazing. So I'm really excited to pick Leticia's brains for you guys. So Leticia, do you want to give us your intro? Tell us about you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. So my name is Leticia Campbell. I am the founder and CEO of the Campbell Success Network, head coach of the Sexy Brand Building Formula. And what I am is your sales success strategist. And what I do for women particularly is I help them package up their best work, launch it to the world so that they can generate more sales online.
Amazing. And so tell me, would this be your life's passion, or have you got a few of them?
This is one of my life's passion for sure. You know, I've always been in the position of mentoring and coaching other women and men. And this is something I've always done all my life. I literally took all the skills that I learned in corporate and just, moved that over to social media and started making money for myself instead of for somebody else.
Amazing. And I believe your kids are also a passion of yours, and that started this journey for you, right?
Yes, it is. Absolutely. Absolutely. I don't think I would be doing what I'm doing right now if it wasn't for them, for sure.
Yeah. And tell me, Leticia, when were you happiest in your life?
Wow. I mean, definitely, after having my kids, but my biggest, happiest moment is me having more of a self-discovery of who I am as a woman. When I realized that not only can I make money for myself, but I could also help other people all over the world. That's really like my happy moment, is when I'm helping somebody be more aware that they can also become financially independent, which is huge for me. I'm more driven by that more than anything else. And another thing is, this is like a sort of a weird story if I have time to share it. But I remember downloading an app on my phone, and it's like an app that makes you look older, it makes you like 85 years old. And when I saw that, and in that moment, I was like, you know what? I got to make my 85-year-old self proud of me. So for me, making sure that I'm taking care of my 85-year-old self, and that once I reach that age, I'm going to be financially independent, taken care of. And once I take care of myself, I can take care of everybody else. So my biggest self-discovery is me developing into being more self-aware of my own personal happiness. It's because I used to live a life, and, we want to talk about that in a little bit, where I was just a people pleaser. You know what I'm saying? Pleasing everybody. And the more I became a people pleaser, the more I started to not live the life that I want to live. So me having that self-discovery to be, a little bit more self-aware of what my happiness was definitely a big stepping stone for me.
Yeah, that's really great. Do you want to share with us what your lowest point was, and if you faced any stigmas or negative social norms?
Absolutely. I mean, my lowest point, which was more of a point that I didn't know that I would ever have to go through, was when I first started to really go heavy and hard in my business. Like all my life, I always made side money, it was more like a hobby thing. If I needed extra $200 or whatever, I knew how to make it for myself. Or I got a huge, backlash from, my partner, who from that moment forward always gave me no support, nothing at all, lots of negative comments and responses, and that really affected me. It really, really did. I wasn't one of those women that can just brush, negative conversations off of her shoulder. I really took it to heart. And I think I think it was like 3 or 4 years ago, I just didn't do anything with my business. I would literally go to work, come home, and wouldn't do anything. And that really set me back a very long time. And it stopped me from, opportunities and getting connected with people. And that was my lowest moment because I felt caged. I felt like I wasn't in control of my life. I wasn't in control of myself. But it was so funny in that moment, I felt that was normal. I felt that it was normal because I come from a very religious background. And, from how I grew up, you're supposed to be submissive to your partner. You're supposed to, it's a partnership. It's a joint venture. And if he says no, then you just have to go with the flow. And so I didn't want to live by those rules. I felt like marriage for me is not a dictatorship. It's more of a partnership. We both help each other win. We both highlight each other. So that was definitely my lowest moment, I would say, is when I just gave power to somebody else. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, it sounds like that was your self-sabotage. You gave away your power within a toxic relationship.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So how did you stop that? Like what made you realize that you needed to change and get out of that relationship and somehow take Leticia's power back?
There was two reasons. Number one is that I didn't want my daughters to repeat what I've gone through. And because I've seen my mother go through the same thing. So when I was a little girl, I remember my mom and my dad had a huge argument, and I was like, I would never be my mom. I would never put up with what she put up with. And it was so funny. I ended up turning out just like her, just being very passive aggressive, being very accepting and just totally like disconnected. So the first reason why I had to break out of that, again, was for my two daughters. I didn't want them to replicate. I want them to grow up making a decision, the fact that if they're not happy, they can easily make the decision to walk out without feeling that hesitation of, I have to stay because what is my community going to say? What is my friends going to say? What is my mom going to say? I never want them to feel like whatever decision they make, I would be unsupportive about it, The second way that I got out of that was I started to surround myself with some boss ladies, like, my mentor, Rhonda, and yourself, and several other amazing women that I met online. Because, in my community, you don't have that type of conversations that I have with women like yourself and other entrepreneurial women that are like, you don't have to take that. And when I heard that you can redesign your future, I was like, wow. Because all my life, what was told to me was that you get a diploma, you go get a college degree, you get married, and that's it. And I just wanted more. And so when I started to get around more women with who thought like me, I felt like they were speaking my language. I felt like everybody else in my personal life was speaking, Chinese, and they were speaking French, and I understood French more than Chinese, So that's what it is for me. I really have a huge passion just to be happy, and when I realized that happiness is a inside job, I have to find that in myself, not depend on somebody else to give it to me. I could entertain myself just fine. You know what I'm saying? That's just how I really got out of self-sabotage. Not to say I don't have days where I, don't let things get to me. My battle is not over, you know what I mean, with the whole separation, with the whole independence thing. But I know that I came very, very far from the woman I was 3 years ago.
Yeah, for sure. You've changed so much just in the 18 months
I have.
I've known you. And it is funny how something like that, something so toxic, can become normal for people, especially when you've grown up thinking that that's just the way it is. And you know, that realization is a huge one. I've been through it myself in a toxic relationship. It did become very normal over time. Um,
Yeah.
and it's like, unless you have that realization later that things can change and you can take your power back, you kind of just get stuck in it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I felt a large amount of guilt, and I really don't think people understand unless they've gone through it. You feel guilty when you feel like I need to remove myself from this person. I felt a tremendous amount of guilt, more than me worrying about, oh my God, me. So on that note, I felt guilty at that. Like I was the failure. I was the one that put my family down. You know what I'm saying? And that was the real battle I had to face, is that not to feel guilty. This is a choice. Happiness is a choice. You know what I mean? And in order for me to be my best self, I got to take the toxic, environment away from me and my kids. Because I have two boys too. And as a mom, I have to play that role of showing them how to treat a woman, and so they can grow up and be men of integrity.
Absolutely. And in fact, that's the reason that I left my son's father.
Yeah.
I didn't want him to turn out the same way, and I didn't want him
Because they do.
as that as an example. Yeah, that's right. Well, that's their primary role model, right? So yeah, and I know what you mean about the guilt. The guilt can be huge.
Yes, it can.
And the feeling of failure can be huge. And then I know that a lot of toxic people often will make it very justified, their behavior, and that's part of how it becomes so normal. Because
It does.
they're so good
Yeah.
at that, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, right where I come from, women, when they say, "Oh, I got a man," like that's something like a Louis Vuitton purse. Like, yeah, I got a man. Look at me. And it's like a status thing. If I walk into a church or a gathering and I'm just a single woman, the married women like holding their man tight, like, I don't want your man. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's another thing you deal with as a independent mother. Women are prejudging, thinking that you want what they have. It happens. That's like an unspoken uh thing that women don't speak about, but a lot of single moms, independent moms like myself have to deal with that. So it's the judgment, it's the guilt, it's everything compounded on that. But again, when I realized, it was sort of funny because I reached a point in the relationship where I'm not with him because of love. I'm with him because of guilt. Because once the love is gone, it's gone. The trust is over. And then now you're still with them because of the guilt. That was not healthy for me at all.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love how you mentioned the status thing, because I know in our culture, over in the other half of the world, to be with somebody is often much more acceptable, you know, and it also means for you that you've got this acceptance and this belonging and this approval, and that
Absolutely.
can be tough as a single woman to
Mhm.
not bow to that pressure of society.
Mhm.
I'm sure it's similar up there in America too, right?
It's very similar. It's I mean, everywhere you go, it's like they ask all the time, "Oh, you married? Are you married? Or is there a mister? Is it?" You know what I mean? You get that question asked, and why, when I walk in the room, that needs to be the first question. You know what I mean? It almost gets to the point where it's annoying, And but we face that. We deal with that every day. Women stay in horrible situations. And another thing that was the reason why I felt that, as a young child, all the things I was going through as a grown woman was normal, because I realized, through therapy, I see a therapist. I've been seeing one for the past 8 years now. And in the beginning, I never thought that. I thought abuse was a man punch you in your face. You know what I'm saying? Like physical. You don't, I didn't grow up knowing that verbal abuse is just as harmful as a man putting his hands on you. So I had to now transition myself. I remember my therapist said that you are a you're a woman who's being abused, manipulated, abused, and things like that. I was like, no, that's not me. I didn't want that label of domestic abuse and things like that. So I had to sort of like overcame that and realized like, yo, that's who I am. I have to wear that label on my head in order for me to overcome it. You
Yeah,
know, because a
and
lot of women stay in situations to where they're being verbally and gotten physical, you know?
yeah, absolutely. It's a whole ball game where you don't realize how bad it is psychologically. But in fact,
Yeah.
I think that the psychological effects, even without the violence, well, I mean, especially without the violence, that can be harder to leave because
It
you
is. Yeah.
don't feel as justified. You know, you don't have that big reason, oh, he hit me. And I've been in both types of relationships, one where
Okay.
there was violence and then a toxic relationship where there was just psychological damage.
Mm-hmm.
And I found the second one much harder to leave.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it took me probably 2 years longer than it should have.
Mm-hmm.
I was so attached to him and so
Yeah.
attached to his approval of me. And
Mm-hmm.
he had manipulated that into being by the way he spoke to me and treated me. And so it was so important for me to find my inner power to just
Yes.
believe I was worth more to leave
Yes.
and then slowly start rebuilding myself. Uh,
Absolutely.
yeah, so it's
Yeah.
a,
Yeah. It took me 19 years, and I think, you know, I could have left sooner. But then it's like, whenever I would share, you know, what I was very quiet about what I was going through. I was very, very quiet. It was to the point where I had a mental breakdown and I was hospitalized because of all the stress I was going through. I had to, you know, had to be out of work for 2 weeks and stuff. And when I would share it, people would be like, "Are you? No, there's no way he's doing that. There's no way he's saying that," because I was so silent about it. And then at once I did, you know, tap into my voice and started expressing it and say, no, this is what I'm going through. I was then getting negativity about, well, he has a good job. He's not hitting you. You know what I'm saying? All these other alternatives that people were making up for me, again, making me feel guilty,
yeah.
you know, and you got to be there because, you know, the job is stressful. And, oh, I could tell you stories. And so that's probably one of the major reasons why it took me so long. Like, even when I did reach out, even to, you know, my people in my immediate area and even his family, it was sort of like no support, no help,
Sorry, we had a tiny freeze
no
there,
anything.
Letitia.
Still to this day, I have people who don't speak to me because of my.
His family don't speak to you.
Oh, we do? Can you hear me now?
There we go. We're back, I
Oh,
think.
no.
Sorry, it's my internet. Sorry about that,
Yeah.
everybody.
Okay. No, not at all. They live about 2 houses down from me.
Wow.
I don't yeah, which
Wow.
is okay.
The pressure of
Can
social
you hear me now?
is just amazing. Yes. Yeah.
Mhm.
It's not you. It's me. Unfortunately, down the bottom half of the world here, we've got a lot of that at the moment. Yeah, the pressure of social norms is just huge, especially highlighted in situations like this and how people react. You know, when you're trying to do the right thing for yourself and your children, and you're trying to be stronger and independent, and the social norm is to squash that and to push you back down, right?
Yeah, yeah, it can. I know a lot of ladies that still stay married to their partner, and he lives in a totally different country, you know, and they know that they have that person has a whole nother family, you know. It's very common, but we don't, as women, we don't talk about it, you know, and I'm guilty of that too. I kept silent for a long time, you know what I mean? Because, you know, you don't in this environment, it can be something that's so stressful on you to where it can make you have a nervous breakdown. You know what I mean? It's a struggle.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you so much for sharing all those, being so vulnerable for my tribe. Can you give them
Thank you.
some inspirational message to them, because they are also struggling with self-sabotaging and trying to find their confidence?
Well, one of the things that I always do is I always try to sit, and I do this every day. I sit down, I try to imagine what type of woman I want to become, right? And every single day I try to emulate that woman that I want to become. It goes back to what I said earlier about me looking way into the future, me as an 85-year-old woman. How does she want to feel? Where does she want to be? Who does she want to be around? You know what I mean? And that's what I think about. And it's again, like, your happiness is just so freaking important, and by any means necessary, you have to live a life where you are happy, despite what people think, despite how people feel. And you have to make hard decisions to be happy. A lot of people think, oh, just be happy, just be happy today. A lot of times you got to make some difficult decisions to honor your happiness and respect yourself more than anything, especially if you have children. You know what I mean? Even though we grow up in cultural environments and habits, we can absolutely break the chain, because the curse has to stop with us. My family was cursed with generations of the things that I've gone through. And I had to at one moment say, the buck stops here. I don't have to continue on with this. I can create a whole new transition a whole new life for my legacy, because I have a legacy to maintain for my great, great, great grandchildren. And when they look back at me, I want them to look at me as a woman who was strong, a woman who was dominant, and a woman who didn't take shit from anybody. So I have to live up to that status every day. That's what's very important to me. Not what other people think, but what my legacy feels about me.
I love that. And I think that that's a great idea to think about that 85-year-old self.
Mm-hmm.
So I do urge everyone out there to have a go at doing that. I think I might do that myself tonight.
You should.
Inspirational to really go, what do I want to look back on? What do I want, my children and my grandchildren and my great grandchildren to say about me? And I know that I want mine to say that she stepped up and she started changing the world and smashing those social norms.
Yes, 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 absolutely. And again, they will. We just all have to work so hard to just stay focused, be clear on what we want to do, and just be ready for whatever comes. I'm ready for whatever comes every day.
So what does your future hold for you, Leticia?
Oh my God, my future holds definitely me continuing doing my travels, me really getting my children to start to implement, a lot of my qualities that I want to instill in them, and just being just this independent, awesome colored girl, and just continue to just help so many women realize what their passion is and launch it to the world.
Amazing. And so tell us how people can follow your journey.
Well, I have an amazing mastermind tribe on Facebook. If you go to bit.ly/Success Tribe, it'll give you access to my community. And in there, I go live in there multiple times. Every day I post in there. And it's just an amazing community of some awesome women who are also seeking financial independence, whether they're married, single, whatever. And people always have this stigma like, oh, financial independence, what does that mean? You don't need a man or anything. I'm not saying that. I feel that every woman should make her own money. Every woman should have control over her money. When you're in a partnership, and that's what it needs to be, a partnership, not a dictatorship. You're not supposed to give your man all your money and he has to come in with his bag, I come with mine, and we build and grow together. And that's really what's so important to me, because even going back to when I was young, my father passed away when I just got out of high school, and we lost everything. We had to stand in front of our house and do a whole garage sale, had to get rid of cars, everything. And I looked at my mom, not feeling bad for her, but feeling like I don't want to ever depend on a man, even though that's what ended up happening to me years later when I got married. But, just depending on that relationship, because anything can happen. you know what I mean? And that put us in some huge financial strain during that moment. So that my community is just all about that, just learning resources on how to just dominate and be successful in your business.
Amazing. That's amazing. And I do urge all of you to jump over there and have a look, because Leticia is a powerhouse of passion and profit, and she's definitely worth following. Thank you so much for joining me today, Leticia. It's been wonderful chatting to you and sharing your
Thank you.
We're going to air this on Friday, so I'm really excited about that. And next Friday, we have the amazing Stephen Larson, who is also a powerhouse in creating income. So that will be a really good one too. We'll hear about his self-sabotages and how he made it to the top of his game. So join me all this Friday and next Friday, and then the Friday after, I have a very special guest who I will announce next week. Thank you so much for joining us on Own Your Shit Friday from the Baldwarrior movement. You all have an amazing weekend.
You too. Thank you, Kat.